Hello, everybody. This is Mike, Kilo Oscar 4, Papa Delta India, your ham fun guy. Yeah, I'm the guy that makes fun at ham radio. We have fun with it, don't we? We do a lot of satellite stuff. And you know what radio I use for my satellites? The IC-9700. Well, through my perusal of the ICOM America website, I found out that there is a new firmware for the IC-9700. If you have an IC-9700 and you've had it for a while, this firmware came out in June of 2025. It's 1.50. I had 1.44 on my 9700 when I bought it. So this is updating the firmware on it, and I still have to do this update on the other 9700. So let's talk about it. I'm going to show you how to do the firmware update, and if you follow the instructions moment by moment, you will have no problem with this. So let's quick jump over here. This is the window I use to do satellite passes, and you can see I have the ICOM America website right here. So go to icomamerica.com, and this is the page you will come to. And what the first thing you're going to do is you're going to hit personal use here or here. It doesn't matter which one. You click personal use, and this page comes up. When this page comes up, you click over here where it says amateur radio. And when you do that, this page will come up. Basically the same picture on top. But if you scroll down, here's a bunch of radios. We got the ICV86. We got the ID5100A. We got the ICOM 9700. We got the 905. And there's more radios, but why they're not listed here, I don't. Oh, these are the featured products. Okay. Well, the one we want is the ICOM 9700. So you click on this image right here, and it brings you to this page. And this page will tell you more interesting things about the ICOM 9700. As we can go from picture to picture, we can look at all the different pictures on here of the radio and even show you the back. What's really cool is it's got 3 antenna connectors, one for 2 meter, one for 70 centimeter, and one for 22. If you scroll down, it tells you all kinds of features about it. You got the 1200 megahertz band, the 70 centimeter band, and the 2 meter band on this radio. This shows you how the radio is set up to do noise reduction and stuff like that. But we don't need this right now. What we need is support and download. And if you click on support and download, this is the page that comes up. Okay. ICOM 9700. We are on the support. And yeah, we're on the support and download page. So we have brochures listed right here. Manuals, all the manuals you'd ever possibly need for this radio are right here. You can follow all that. If you continue down, you come to a section named firmware and software. And you'll notice we got programming software. If you don't want to use RT Systems, they have their own programming software. But notice the versions are 1.50 on that one. But the dates here are wrong. Firmware for the 9700 version is 1.50. So if you click on this 9700 here, it says July 9th, 2021. That's not correct. That was 1.44 came out in July of 2021. I know because I updated my radio from what it was to that. And so what you do is you click on here where it says firmware for the IC-90. Click on IC-9700 and this window will open up. This is the firmware download page. This has step-by-step instructions on exactly what you should do. And this is the changes from version 1.44, which was the latest version I had on my radio at the time. You could read all this in detail if you want. I can enlarge that a little bit so you could pause it and read it. That's pretty good right there. Improved importing repeater lists. Supported importing repeater list while retaining existing order. Added the ability to select other nearby repeaters using the dial after entering and access repeater using the near repeater search function on the DR screen. Improved the share pictures function. That's one thing nice about this. The 705 does that too. You could actually share images on this. Added data percentage for picture data received. Added the visibility of the received block. Improved so that beep sounds after finishing the transmission using digital voice fast data function. Added the option for digital repeater set function. Supported SDX cards up to 256 gigabytes, and formatting on the transceiver is required. Okay, so that's the changes from the previous version, which was 1.44. All right, so the programming for this software, you can go here and click on that. To update the firmware, this is where you have to pay attention to what they're saying. Download and unzip the firmware data, for example, 9700E150.dat. I'll show you how to do that in a second. Copy it onto the IC-9700 folder on your SD card. In other words, you could do that on your computer. You just take the card out of the radio, put it in your computer, and download this file onto that card. Insert the SD card with the firmware data into the transceiver. If you're updating the firmware from version 1.11 or earlier, the transceiver will not display a dialog recommended saving the settings and memories described in step 4-4. So we recommend backing them up on the SD card. So what they're talking about, if we look at the 9700, here's the 9700. What you would do to back up your software, hit menu, hit set, go to SD card, which is on page 3 of 3 on the set menu. Click the SD card, and right here you have firmware update, but don't do that yet. Go back to page 1, and it says save setting. You click save setting. You don't even have to give it a name. Just say new file. It'll make up a file name right here, and you hit enter. And it says, do you want to save the file? I say yes. And what it's going to do is save my existing settings and put it on my SD card. And when it's done, it'll tell me completed and you're all set. So that is very important. Make sure you do save your settings before you do the update in case you screw up and you got to go back and undo it. So remember that. Save your settings. That's under the SD card menu. All right, so we've gotten that. So it says to save the settings. That was step 3-2. So we're here. Touch save settings. The SD card opens and the save settings screen appears. Tell it new file. It'll make a file name. We talked about that. Touch enter and it will save the file and tell it yes. Now, to update the firmware, here we go, updating the firmware. Display the SD card screen again, which we did. And we have that up here. And after you get to that screen again, you will touch firmware update. All right, let's bring the 9700 into this image. It's up there in the top right. Make sure I get this centered. It's right above my head. So we go to the SD card. We're on page 1. And what it's telling us to do, touch firmware update. So that's on page 3. No, it's on page 2, right here. Here you see it says firmware update. Move my finger out of the way. I hit that. Now this is where you might get a little cold feet. It says firmware updating has risks, and you do so at your own risk and responsibility. If you make a mistake, updating the IC-9700 may not work properly or the data will become corrupted. In that case, you must send it to ICOM distributor for repair. All right. That is like the fear of God goes in you when you read that. Plus, it's in yellow with red lettering, which is like scary. So know that you can do this. I've done it twice now. So now at this point, you hit page down. And it says, do you agree with all of the above? And what you would do, it says, refer to the instruction manual for, I don't know if you can read that over my head. Refer to the instruction manual for the correct updating procedures. Depending on the updating version, all previous settings and memory contents may be lost, which is why we backed everything up before we started doing this. Before updating, make a backup file of the settings and memory contents onto an SD card. Yes, we did that. Do you agree with all of the above? You would hit the word yes. Okay, I'm going to hit it now. Now, depending on the version, the settings may be make a backup copy of the SD. It's giving you another chance to make a backup copy. If you want to make another backup copy, hit the word yes, and you go through the same procedure we did earlier. This is basically, if you didn't do that, it would tell you to do that. So we're going to tell it no. So here is the firmware update directory. That's the firmware update. I'm not going to hit it now. Well, I could hit it. Let me see. Oh, thank you, sir. Oh, God, look what just came. The rotor for my PSR 100. Yay, it's back. All right, I'm going to put that together next. All right, I want to show you this screen up close and personal. There you go, right there. At this point, I'm not going to go any further because I've already updated the software in my radio. But what you see here, firmware updating takes approximately 2 minutes. After updating, the IC-9700 will automatically restart. Until the frequency is displayed, never turn off the 9700 or remove the SD card. Do you understand that? This is so important. Now, I'm going to show you this too. Right here, it says updating. You just click yes, right? No. You have to hold yes down for like 2 seconds for it to start. So I'm not going to do that now because I've already updated the firmware. So I'm going to tell it no. I'm going to back out of all this. And I am going to turn my radio off. And here's what you do. If you want to know what firmware version you have, I'm going to turn the radio off. And now watch what happens when I turn it back on. I'm going to turn it back on. Look at the bottom right of the screen. There it is, 1.50. That's my firmware version. So I have the new version now. Originally, that would say 1.44. So 1.50 is the newest firmware on the ICOM 9700, and that was a little thing. So if you hold down that yes, when we get to that part where it says click yes, don't just click it. I clicked it so many times and it never did anything, and I was like, damn, what did I do wrong? I didn't realize I have to hold the yes down. So if you use a pointer like this pen has a little soft cushion on it to do touchscreens, there it is right there. So remember that. You have to, when you're doing this, you have to hold that yes down for like 3 seconds or so, and then it'll go into it. And then do not, I repeat, do not turn off your radio and do not touch the SD card until the frequency comes back on the screen. At the end of the update, the radio will shut off and then restart. And at that point, you're done. You've had it. And you can look, when it restarts, look at the firmware version on the bottom right of the screen and you'll see 1.5. So there's a couple of differences in this, but basically, I didn't show you this too. When you get to the page with the firmware, you're going to scroll down and you have to click, I have read and fully understood and agree to the above. You click on this, then you can click download. Until you click on this box right here, which is telling you to make sure you read all this and agree to it, you're not going to be able to download anything. So you have to read it, go scroll to the bottom of this, then click I've read everything, fully understand, then click download. It'll download onto your computer. I downloaded it right onto my SD card for the 9700. That's why when I did the firmware update on the 9700 just now, you saw where it came up and it said, oh, this firmware version, and that was it. It was there already. It saw it already. But we already uploaded it, and it already works in the radio. So make sure you do that. Make sure you follow every instruction in detail from one point to the other, to the other, to the other. All right? And if you do that, you will not have any issues with this. Do not turn the radio off once you've started this. Do not take the SD card out once you've started this. Back up your system before you start it, and you shouldn't have any problems. If you do have problems, I can give you the phone number for ICOM's tech support. They'll tell you where to mail your radio, because if you screw it up, you might have to send it back. So if you have an ICOM service center near you, I probably could bring mine over to HRO. I don't know if they if they would update the firmware for me if I brought it there, but you can rest assured that if you follow the instructions as they're written, you will not have any issues at all. All right? So on that note, I will leave that with you guys. KO4 PDI, I'll say 73, everybody. Remember, don't do anything I wouldn't do, at least not without me, all right? It's KO4 PDI, I'll be clear, 73.